Hey, so I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video or not because I've already gone pretty in-depth on the channel about most of my favorite albums from this year, but you guys said you wanted it, and I do love making these countdown videos, so here we go. My top 10 favorite albums of 2019. Starting off at number 10, we have the album Morbid Stuff by Pup. This is one that I've been replaying over and over again since the beginning of the year, and I still have it in a pretty heavy rotation. To put it into one word, this album is liberating. Whether you've recently gone through a breakup, you quit your job, or you just want to let loose, I highly recommend throwing this thing on and losing yourself in the music. In my review of Morbid Stuff from the beginning of the year, I talked a lot about the different ways that freedom and expression are experienced throughout this album's efficient 36-minute runtime. We've got these upbeat, thrashing guitars that feel like the life force of the album. There are the extremely dramatic, hyperbolic lyrics that describe wanting the world to end because you saw your ex at the grocery store. But what has kept me coming back to Morbid Stuff all year long is the delivery of frontman Stephen Babcock. These songs, these lyrics, these words, these stories, this album feels like life and death for him. He needs you to hear him out so badly, and the way that he sings these songs just makes me so happy. My absolute favorite microscopic detail about this project is how sometimes these songs don't even feel like songs. It feels like this guy is just screaming and venting out all his problems to you, and it sounds great, don't get me wrong, but as a listener, you come to an understanding of how much these words mean to him and how real this album is. My favorite songs are the title track Morbid Stuff,
Makes me feel like I'm about to throw up.
Free at Last, and See You at Your Funeral. At number 9, we have the album Immunity by Clairo, and words can't describe how big of a leap this was for her and her music. Going from the somewhat shallow, basic bedroom pop stuff that was on her EP Diary 001, and then skyrocketing to this mature, expertly written, wonderfully produced alternative indie soft rock is amazing. One of my main talking points when describing this album has been surrounding the concept of subtlety. And I think the best examples are with Claire's voice and the production from ex-Vampire Weekend member Rostam Batmanglij. Clairo does not have some incredible voice. She doesn't go off belting on this thing, hitting crazy notes and doing these wild key changes. No, her voice has a gentle, warm, loving quality to it, and she uses that to her advantage. She embraces this sort of reserved talking/singing delivery, and I think it really works from a storytelling aspect. We get themes of love and love lost, finding yourself, and understanding your sexuality, and her approach to singing works wonders in this context. In a similar way to how the Pup songs work because it's like an angry guy screaming and ranting to you about how life sucks, these Clairo songs work because it sounds like a friend that is talking to you and confiding in you about some of her deepest secrets. It's a very personal journey from start to finish. And then to address the instrumentals, there were a few albums this year that I really wanted to love, but they ended up feeling a bit too formulaic and commercialized because of the production. That is not the case on Immunity. Clairo and Rostam keep the album subtle. Whether the track is more serious like on ALEWIFE or more fun and infectious like on SOFIA, we never get any sweeping, soulless instrumental breakdowns or irritating vocal harmonies. Even when we do get more experimental moments, the album always stays pretty contained, and I respect it for that. It's a touching, immersive project, and I really love it. My favorite tracks on the album are the main single Bags, and the two that I just mentioned, ALEWIFE and SOFIA. At number 8, we have an album that I don't even think I've mentioned on the channel, and that is Titanic Rising by Wise Blood. This is a fantastic, fantastic pop album that really grew on me as the year went on. I don't know why I didn't love it as soon as I heard it. Sometimes I'm trash, I guess, I don't know. But if I was gonna scratch out the favorite part of this video and just make a list of what I think the best albums of the year are, I think this might be number 1. It is unreal. The production, first and foremost, is a major talking point here. Especially when we're describing the vocals, everything is mixed and mastered to perfection. Everything feels spacey and atmospheric enough without ever going too overboard. Psychedelic dream pop stuff can often suffer from people trying to overdo the aesthetic choices, but Titanic Rising is a prime example of how to do it correctly. There are rich layers of backing vocals, some good harmonies, and this whole album is so heavenly and soothing, I can't recommend it enough. I've seen some interesting comparisons to musicians like George Harrison and Lana Del Rey, which, like, sure, but if you haven't checked this album out, I really think any comparison would be doing this thing a disservice. It is that good, it's that special, and it is at a top tier level of quality. And when I talk about Wise Blood and Titanic Rising feeling singular and incomparable, something that seems paradoxical and impossible here is that the album feels so nostalgic, which I think you can understand why I think that sounds so weird. Nostalgia might as well be solely based around comparisons to other things, but somehow, some way, I think this brilliant album is one of a kind and nostalgic, which is baffling to me. I could go on and on. The songwriting is extremely memorable, there are plenty of very different kinds of tracks on this album, yet everything always feels organic and it flows well, and yeah, top-notch album. Love it. Favorite tracks are Andromeda, Movies, and A Lot's Gonna Change. At number 7, we have Nothing Great About Britain by Slowthai, and I think this is easily one of the best rap albums of the year. This is one of the most exciting, exhilarating projects I've heard in a long time, and I'm so glad that this guy is starting to blow up in the way that he is. He deserves it. Through a blend of humor and serious, dire criticism, Slowthai gives us one of the most politically charged albums of 2019. He talks about economic problems in the UK, nationalism, Brexit, redistribution of wealth, and so on. This man runs riot throughout this album. He's bouncing off the walls, going crazy in one way or another during every track, but there's always a purpose. His energy is not just for the sake of being energetic, he wears the themes of the album on his sleeve, and it's clear that this stuff just means that much to him. There is plenty of range shown on Nothing Great About Britain too. While yes, pretty much every song on the track list is very in your face, we can go from general trash talking to an ultra specific, vulnerable, beautiful anger too. And Slowthai succeeds at both. Favorite songs on the album are Inglorious,
And even when I die, I come back twice as legendary. Tears when I sit in the cemetery.
Nothing Great About Britain,
Just a boy in the corner, call me King Whitey, puking up off a corner.
and Northampton's Child.
The news is housing association moving fam to the Eastern District Lings. Number 6 near the garage.
At number 6, we have Magdalene by FKA Twigs, and again, if I was making a list of albums that I think are the absolute highest quality, without regarding how much of an emotional connection I made with them, I think this is right up there when it comes to the best albums of the year. This is one of the most innovative, creative artists in the world, and she's doing what she does best. The songs are original, they're fresh, and the main adjective I would use to describe this project is theatrical. Magdalene feels like more than an album. There's something very cinematic about it, like it's a grand, masterful performance or something. I think more than any other project this year, this one painted such vivid imagery in my head, and every time I came back to it, I felt like I was venturing back into the specific world of this album. Listening to this felt like watching Star Wars songs for the first time. There's something so mystical and surreal about this, and even though the subject matter is often sad and melancholic, I've had such a good time going through this thing over and over again. I think introspective is another word that needs to be thrown into the mix here. Listening to this has made me reflect and think about my own life more than just about any other piece of art that I've consumed this year. This album is art pop at its best. The vocals from Twigs are great, we feel how she feels, there's a big sense of longing and yearning on this thing, but more than anything, I'm just so impressed with the whole artistic package of Magdalene. Very impressive stuff. Favorite songs are Cellophane, Sad Day, and Home With You. At number 5, we have Igor by Tyler, the Creator, and I'll try to move through this one quickly because I'm sure you've heard enough about this album by now. The evolution of Tyler has been a crazy roller coaster ride, and I couldn't be happier that this is where it's taken us. Going back and listening to something like Goblin, and then listening to Igor, there is a world of difference. This album is something that seems completely one of a kind. The only person in the world that could have made this is Tyler, and when you go through his discography, I personally think that there was a pretty big identity crisis along the way, and now it seems like he's really found himself. At least at this point in time, this was the album that he was supposed to make. There's complete creative control, and the decisions made here are fantastic. Everything from the somewhat experimental production styles to the chosen musicians that were featured on the album. Some of the melodies on Igor are absolutely top-notch, the storytelling is unique, it's the best songwriting Tyler has ever done, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Favorite songs are EARFQUAKE, Igor's Theme, and New Magic Wand. At number 4, we have When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go by Billie Eilish, and this is probably where the pitchforks start coming out. And sorry, but I think this album is incredible. It was obviously with the help of her brother, sure, but a 17-year-old Billie Eilish made one of the most polished, well-thought-out, one-of-a-kind albums I've heard all year, and that is amazing to me. This thing is beautiful, and it's dark, it's touching, it's uncomfortable, and overall, I think this project is very special. People complain so much about hearing boring, played-out stuff on the radio, and this is the exact opposite. It's a great change of pace, and it's one of the most commercially successful albums of the year, and I think that's something to be celebrated. There's a wide range of different sounds on this thing, and the production from Finneas is extremely focused. We get pulsating, fun pop songs like Bad Guy, and then slower, distorted tracks like 8. We get more than a few bangers on When We Fall Asleep, and then also some very intimate, very personal songs too. I love hearing from Billie's perspective, the chemistry between her and Finneas is next level, and overall this is a very well-crafted album. Favorite songs are Bad Guy,
I don't see what she sees, but maybe it's 'cause I'm wearing your cologne.
8,
Guess I overdid it, pour my heart out on it.
and Wish You Were Gay.
I can't tell you how much I wish I didn't wanna stay.
At number 3, we have You Know What I'm Sayin' by Danny Brown, and this is my favorite hip-hop album of the year. Danny has always been one of my absolute favorites. Ever since the days of XXX, I've been obsessed with this weird, eccentric, idiosyncratic man, and he did not disappoint on his latest release. One of the best parts about this album is that we get some fun, lighthearted Danny and some serious, mature Danny as well. Anyone who knows who he is but doesn't actually listen to him would probably just describe Danny as that crazy guy, but fans of Danny Brown know that this man can be as real and down to earth as the best of them. The legendary Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest was the executive producer on this album, and we have a finely curated, wide selection of beats and instrumentals for one of the most inventive rappers in the game. Danny thrives off of strange off-kilter beats, and he certainly gets them here. Danny is older now, and not to say that he's slowed down at all, but maybe he's a little bit more put together, if you will. He's not predictable, but he's certainly not as manic and wild as he used to be. You Know What I'm Saying features a more focused, more concentrated Danny Brown than we've ever seen before. He attacks every beat on this album with precision, and there's something very adamant about his approach here. He's relentless in his flows, and his bars are just as clever as ever. This album is highly quotable, it's funny, and entertaining is an understatement, but right when you think you have Danny figured out, he hits you with some important, conscious life lessons too. Favorite tracks are 3 Tearz.
It was written, but the signature not legible. Drink so much I can drown the fish.
Dirty Laundry.
You're in the bag, had to fight the baby dad. Tried to stop I eat, so I got up on the sand.
And Savage Nomad.
That was so much pain that I don't even know what feeling is. Block of boarded houses in between.
At number 2, we have Beware of the Dogs by Stella Donnelly, and yes, the album that topped my list earlier in the year has been dethroned, but I still love this thing to death. I haven't seen this album on many end-of-the-year lists, so please, while I hope you know and check out all the other projects that I've mentioned, more than any other, I really hope you give this one a shot. Stella's songwriting is probably my favorite that I've heard in 2019. Her songs are cathartic, they're very clever and funny, they'll make you laugh, they'll make you cry, and the list goes on. Her voice is like heaven to me. At the end of a line, sometimes she'll do this little yodely type thing, and I can't get enough of it. When we talk about the thematic stuff on the album, that's where it gets really interesting because Stella doesn't hide her feelings whatsoever. Her words are direct, and you're never left wondering what a given song might be about. No, she tells you exactly how she's feeling. With this very direct lyrical approach, we get tracks that describe topics of abuse, feminism, respect, and power. Some of these songs will punch you in the gut, and others will make you want to get up and dance. The instrumentals range from a classic indie rock sound to some upbeat pop, a slower atmospheric sound, and so on. Favorite tracks are Old Man.
Oh, are you scared of me, old man? Or are you scared?
Boys Will Be Boys.
Boys will be boys.
And Tricks.
You only like me when I do my tricks for you.
And my number 1 favorite album of 2019 is 1000 gecs by 100 gecs, and I've listened to this thing almost every day for months and months and months now. This is the most original thing I've heard all year. A few days after it came out, I randomly stumbled across Money Machine, and I've been astounded by this project ever since. We get elements of pop-punk, dubstep, metal, emo, and I'm speechless whenever I try to even think about the choices that were made on this thing. Dylan and Laura are geniuses, and you cannot tell me otherwise. 1000 gecs has shown me such an original blend of styles and sounds, and my jaw drops every time I listen to it. It never gets old for me. The production on this is magnificent. The bass booming is thrilling. I can't even wrap my head around some of the weird noises that appear on this album. They're nerve-wracking, but I mean that in the best way possible. And then when we talk about the pitched up, distorted chipmunk vocals, they're cute and charming and sweet, even when the lyrics are bitter and rough, and that is so interesting to me. There are probably 4 or 5 moments on 1000 gecs that are all contenders for my favorite parts of any song this year. The initial taunting on Money Machine is hilarious. I scream the lyrics at the top of my lungs when the background vocals join in at the end of Stupid Horse. It is gorgeous when the vocals start buffering in the middle of I Would Never Stop. The finale of Ringtone is one of the cutest, most satisfying things I've ever heard, and then all of Get to You is absolutely anthemic to the core. My absolute favorite songs right now at least are Ringtone,
Stupid
Horse,
selling horse, I just fell out of the Porsche. Lost some money in my bank account.
And Gek to you.
All alone and you call me on the phone and you say I need love, can you get to me now?
Be sure to comment below with your favorite albums of the year, and thanks for watching. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can buy my merch, support my Patreon, and thank you again. I'll see you soon.